Good morning, folks. How are you doing? Today is Thursday. It is the 19th or 20th day. 19th day of October 2023. It is bright and early, 9 o'clock in the morning in Tampa. The last couple videos I made were compilation videos of images and videos. And that's not to say, and this one's going to be the same. That's not to say there's going to be a change in my format. You might hear a little difference in my voice this morning because a couple days ago I went outside thinking it was great. It was nice and cool weather outside, and I cut the grass in my t-shirt and shorts while processing a video, and next thing I know, my chronic bronchitis is back. So now I got me in a Z-pack and all that shit. So it was stupid of me. When the temperature changes like this quite suddenly, that's when my bronchitis kicks in. That's why I'm not talking in a lot of my videos, which, by the way, ironically enough, were the only two in my series on Gaza and Aqsa flood that were age restricted, and that, of course, is Gabby. Hi, Gabby. She makes a liar out of me. Don't know if that's a trend. Gabby has stopped by to say hello to us. Hi. Okay. She gonna get up on my shoulder? Anyway, that's Gabby, in case you hadn't figured that out. Today's video is going to be an interesting one because these are current videos and images that I'm putting together for you guys, and primarily they are from the point of view of Jewish people, right? Yes, and they are of those Jewish people, the vast majority of these. The first video I've got for you, man, talking about the perspective, the global perspective on what we are doing in support of Israel. He is not Jewish. However, I don't think he's Jewish. I think he's Arab. However, or Palestinian. However, the vast majority, the rest of them are Jewish, with the exception of Joe Biden. And the majority of them are Israeli. Now, it could be that Max Blumenthal, there's not a Max Blumenthal video in here, but there is something that a quote from him. And obviously Blumenthal is Jewish. I don't know about Sidney, his father. He may be, I think he is a dual citizen, which might make Max an Israeli as well. He would be the only one that I don't think would be considered Israeli. You have Gordon Levy, Max Blumenthal, Edwin Black. He's the author of The Transfer Agreement, which, if you haven't read, is a fascinating book. And, of course, Miko Peled. And 400 Jews and rabbis who went to Congress and literally occupied Congress and the Hall of Statues. The same place that the January 6 people went, and they were subsequently arrested. These people, I seriously doubt anyone's going to be arresting and investigating them, but 400 Jews and rabbis. And we're going to leave the video with them, letting their voices be known, not in our name. It is important. It is an important part of the discussion that what we are talking about is Zionism. What we are talking about is fascism. It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing. Zionism has nothing to do with religion, and it certainly should not be correlated with Judaism. There are protests taking place in support, there are demonstrations in support of Palestinians taking place in fucking Israel, in Greece, in Spain, the United Kingdom, in New York, in Los Angeles. There's going to be a video I show you from Los Angeles. Massive protests taking place. The mainstream media will not show you. Many people participating in these protests, in these demonstrations, in support of Palestinians, in support of a ceasefire, are Jewish. This is not a reflection on the Jewish people. This is not a reflection on Judaism. This is all about control, as Joe Biden will tell you, and fascism. I have one thing to add as you're watching this. Is going to be a discussion about the transfer agreement, which was struck in 1934 between the new regime in Germany, the Nazi Party, and Adolf Hitler, and leading Zionists, in which they promised to help, fund, and transport Jews out of fucking Germany and into Palestine, so they could begin the operation of building their Jewish state, their homeland, their dream, the Zionist dream. And it was funded, the German transfer of German Jews from 1934 to 1938 was paid for and fully supported by Nazi Germany and Adolf Hitler. As you'll see in this video that Max Blumenthal put up, featuring a discussion of the transfer agreement by Edwin Black. This is something that you guys should be aware of and you should read. Literally, the Nazis helped create Israel as it is today. And as Max points out aptly, the irony is unbelievable. Hypocrisy is unbelievable. As the Palestinians stuck in their ghettos are routinely bombed and called Nazis by the state which was helped to be founded by Nazis. My chest. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you get something out of it. And I hope you remember that this, again, is not about religion. This is about fascism. This is about land appropriation. This is about dehumanizing people because they are inconvenient. And this is something that is foundational in the fascist fucking ideology. I did want to state that it's, keep in mind when you're talking about, when you see the video, the clip from the old newsreel from 1984, back in those days when news could actually tell the news. It wasn't just pure propaganda all the time. I want you to keep in mind that as this was being hammered out, and they started this in Germany in 1934, at the same time, some Zionist business owners and industrialists or industrial tycoons in the United States were also trying to carry out the business plot of 1934 with Smedley Butler, an attempt to overthrow the elected government here in the United States of Franklin Delano Roosevelt and replace him with a fascist fucking puppet dictator. They thought it would be either Smedley Butler or somebody else, but that was happening at the same time, the very same time they were doing this. So just keep that in mind as you watch this. This is the history is disturbing. What's happening now is just as disturbing. And as the first video will say, as a commentator in the first video will tell you, we are losing global support. We are losing global respect as we stand with glorious Israel as they bomb the shit out of people locked away in the world's largest open-air prison, or you could say the world's largest ghetto in the history of mankind. The global South and the rest of the fucking, and much of the westernized world are literally turning their backs on us, which you will see happen the UN Security Council meeting in a few minutes. I thank you. Once again, I will post at the end of this video and in the show notes down below, in the notes down below, the only thing I'm posting the last couple of videos has been a link to where you can support a organization that has been active within Palestine for since 2007, and that's a long time. They are a reputable organization, as best as I can find. They are a reputable organization, and they help support the people in Palestine, in Gaza and the West Bank both. So if you can, now would be the time, I guess. Anyway, I thank you for your time. Like I said before, I'm on the Z-Pack thingamabob, which makes me tired. However, I'm already feeling a little bit better. I did a video playing my game yesterday. So my voice is coming back and I feel a little bit better. So we'll go back to the old format in a couple of days. Anyway, that's Bo wagging his tail. And I thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.
And everyone today who is rallying behind Israel is going to lose. I mean, obviously they're going to lose. Because rallying behind Israel just shows that you are still stuck in this old colonialist, imperialist, racist, Western supremacist mentality that the entire global South rejects. And frankly, not just the global South. I mean, there are huge numbers of people in the West itself who reject this. The majority of people on Earth reject this. So you see, you're showing the whole global South, you're showing the whole world that you can't change, that you're the same as you ever were. I think the West, and America in particular, needs to understand that the whole world is seeing you for what you are. Your stance on Palestine makes it starkly obvious to everyone that you are not actually mature or developed enough to deserve a leadership role in world affairs, and certainly not in the affairs of the global South. Certainly not in all of the countries that have been your victims all these years. I mean, there's no repentance on your part. There's no contrition. There's no moral improvement or change in you. You are exactly the same people who wiped out the Native Americans. You're the same people who regarded Africans as subhumans. You're the same people who murdered hundreds of thousands of Japanese civilians in a matter of seconds at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You're the same people who dropped napalm on civilian villages in Vietnam. I mean, on and on. Nothing changes. And nothing exposes this today more than your stance on Palestine. Nothing demonstrates that you have not changed or developed in centuries more than your shameless support for Israel. And believe me, you're alienating the whole planet by this. When you back colonialist, Zionist violence against the Palestinians, everyone sees it as emblematic of your whole attitude to the non-Western world, to the non-white world. Everyone in the global South identifies with the Palestinians. Everyone in the Muslim world identifies with the Palestinians. When you declare your support for total war against the Palestinians, when you declare your support for a psychopath like Netanyahu calling for basically a final solution against the Palestinians, well, everyone in the global South gets the message. You are deranged, immoral, barbaric, bloodthirsty, racist savages. And all your talk about human rights and the rule of law and all of that is all just hideous hypocrisy. You don't mean any of it, and you never did.
I'm an Israeli. I was born in Israel. I even perceive myself as an Israeli patriot. I care about Israel. I belong to Israel. I'm attached to Israel. Don't speak about symmetry because there is no symmetry. I would even suggest that there is no conflict. Was there a French-Algerian conflict? There was a brutal French occupation in Algeria which came to its end. And there is no Israeli-Palestinian conflict. There is a brutal Israeli occupation which must come to its end one way or the other. In our dark backyard, there is a regime which is today by far one of the most cruel, brutal tyrannies on earth, not less than this, and I know what I say because I covered it for 40 years. And this regime cannot be defined but as an apartheid. Two peoples live on one piece of land. One people has all the rights in the world, and I'm talking now only about the occupied territories. Two peoples share one piece of land there. One people has all the rights in the world. The other people has no rights whatsoever. It looks like apartheid. It talks like apartheid. It is apartheid. And nobody can contradict it. Nobody who has been there. Nobody who is fair enough to look, go to the Jordan Valley, see the prosperity in the settlements, and then go and see the Palestinians who live there without electricity, without water, without any rights. And then tell me if it's apartheid, or you might invent it another title. But when I steal your car, I'm not in a position to put conditions for returning the car. First of all, return the car. And the only way to return the car is now giving equal rights to the Palestinians.
Live on Channel 5. This is the 10 o'clock news with Deborah Norville.
Coming out revealing secret negotiation between the Nazis and the Zionists in 1933, which allowed German Jews and their assets to go to Palestine. Rich Samuels joins us tonight with the story of the controversy behind the book and the author's struggle to write it. Rich?
Deborah, with the rise of Adolf Hitler to power in the spring of 1933, the Jews of the world were faced with a dilemma. They could raise a cry of protest, a cry few would heed, or they could make a deal with Hitler, a deal that would bring a step closer their dream of an independent Jewish state. The choice they made was difficult and agonizing. This new book describes that choice. The book is called The Transfer Agreement. This is Israel a few days ago, the season of Passover. And this is Germany 51 years ago, the blossoming of Adolf Hitler's springtime. A key factor in the vitality of today's Israel, the book's author argues, was an agreement reached in 1933 between a group of Zionists and the man who would later try to kill every living Jew.
The great irony is that Adolf Hitler became the chief economic sponsor of the State of Israel.
It will be an argument against, and a wrong argument against Zionists.
Some who lived through those times fear the response to this book. The parents of the author feared its very writing.
When your son came to you and said he was going to write this book, what were your feelings about his undertaking?
I told him he's not my son anymore.
Why did you say that?
I told him I'm going to sit city.
As though he were dead?
That's right.
I told him I don't like it. Because as being a Jew, I didn't want something to uncover on my own people.
I was buried in a grave with 27 people. I was 7 times captured.
Edwin Black's parents are Holocaust survivors.
For what?
My parents never talked much about the Holocaust. Just
Edwin Black, to fill the void left by the silence of his parents, has written this book, a dense, detailed chronicle of the early months of 1933. January 30th, 1933. Hitler becomes Germany's interim chancellor. The Third Reich has begun. But in this country, on March 4th, attention is diverted by the inauguration of Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
More power to you, President Roosevelt. The entire country's behind you, thrilled with hope and patriotism.
But ominous headlines tell what's already happening to the Jews of Germany. The protest of American Jews was heard almost immediately. It was based on only the sparsest of press reports, and nowhere was that protest more vocal than here in New York City.
All creeds, local and national organizations, and labor parties are joining this gigantic demonstration passing through famous Washington Arch. Rabbi Stephen S. Wise, honorary president of the American Jewish Congress, leads the procession down Fifth Avenue on foot.
Father arranged for the first great mass meeting at Madison Square Garden to protest Hitlerism. He felt that when freedom was threatened, silence condoned oppression always.
Thousands who waited hours behind police lines rushed forward as the doors of Madison Square Garden are open. Jews and Gentiles join in the race for seats, and 22,000 of them get in.
I was a young kid then, you see, as a teenager. And I belonged to a Zionist youth group. And we were all summoned to go to that rally. Well, it was a very agitated crowd. Many Yiddish speaking, a few English speaking. And Rabbi Wise mounted an appeal to the Jewish people to do something to save Jewish honor.
Most of the important, well-established Jews were very angry at him, said this was sensationalism, and that if anything happened to the Jews in Germany, the blood of the Jews would be on his head.
Dr. Stephen S. Wise, rabbi of the Free Synagogue and the national leader of liberal thought, speaks in behalf of the Jews of the United States.
This is not a Jewish meeting. This is the conscience of America making itself felt.
The conscience of Nazi Germany made itself felt 5 days later. Across the Reich, Hitler's troops shut down Jewish-owned businesses for 24 hours. Within days, American Jews marched calling for the boycott of all German exports. Jews throughout Europe echoed that call, so did Jews everywhere. But a group of Zionists at the same time was quietly negotiating an agreement with the Nazis to allow the immigration of German Jews and the transfer of their assets to Palestine. That deal, reported in August 1933, was the transfer agreement. Palestine, sparsely settled by Jews at the time, was radically changed as a result.
I lived in Palestine from 1933 to 1936, and we saw every week transports of German Jews coming to settle in Palestine. And many new professions were introduced by them into the country, and they played a leading role in making Palestine then a more advanced and progressive country.
Israel is really what it is because of the foundation laid by the Eastern European group, and then the lift toward an educated and well-organized government that came with the immigration of the German Jewish group.
German Jewish settlement of Palestine was, for a time, official Nazi policy. These photos of Jewish life in Palestine, along with a lengthy text, appeared in 1934 in the Berlin paper Der Angriff. The publisher, Hitler's propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels. A Nazi Visits Palestine was the title of the multi-part series. A medal was struck by Goebbels in commemoration. On one side, the swastika. On the other, the Star of David. Hitler demanded one concession for the transfer agreement, that the call for a boycott of the Reich, raised by Jews here and elsewhere, be rejected by the Zionists. The Zionists made that concession. And so, while Nazis were marching in Germany, and while Jews were marching here, diplomacy was running a more important story. In the Mediterranean, where the dream of a nation-state for Jewish people came a step closer to reality. The story in this book some will find hard to accept.
I still feel the hurt, but after I read it, I said, I'm all with you. Go ahead and write it.
Because everything was exactly what happened, and that's the truth, and you cannot deny it. And the truth must prevail.
And I'm not worried by the people who will find the book in bad taste. The smart people, the intelligent people, the people who went through will understand.
The author is torn between two profound feelings. That he has to be for a Jewish state, and that the silence which his parents have kept, well, he has to retaliate against that silence, and he takes it out on others.
It was a quest. It took me around the world. Financially, it depleted me. Emotionally, it drained me. And as far as my being a Jewish person and understanding my Jewish identity and my relationship to Israel and the Holocaust, it has fulfilled me. It has given me identity.
That he tries to exorcise his own demons by creating ghosts to visit the nights of others is really a very personal drama. And my only hope is that he will not damage the people, the state, and the brethren and sisters whom he proclaims to cherish.
Did you find what you wanted to know?
Yes, I know what happened, and I know why.
The transfer agreement will be available shortly. Macmillan is the publisher. Deborah?
Thanks, Rich. Really interesting.
If we look at the Middle East, I think it's about time we stop, those of us who support, as most of us do, Israel in this body, for apologizing for our support for Israel. There's no apology to be made. None. It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
In the interview with Jordan Peterson, Netanyahu lays out the groundwork that justifies everything that comes next. Basically says this: the Arabs came to the land of Israel in the 7th century, forced all the Jews into exile, and colonized Israel. Then they left it barren. Then they decided to come back, and the Jews who had just come to the land of Israel and made it flourish welcomed the Arabs back. And then 1948 comes along, and the Arab countries attack us. They tell the Arabs in the land of Israel to leave, and then they blame us for the refugee problem. Again, the world according to Benjamin Netanyahu, which has nothing to do with reality. It was a country that was flourishing. Cities and villages, agriculture, industry, a political life, a judiciary, an academic life, hospitals, schools. Now, as Netanyahu is spewing this nonsense, the most radical elements of the Zionist world, their people on the ground are marching through Palestinian towns and neighborhoods, from Sheikh Jarrah to Al Khalil to Hebron to all over the place, shouting, another Nakba is coming. So was there a Nakba or wasn't there a Nakba? Now, the man responsible here is Benjamin Netanyahu. Under his watch, Palestinians are suffering every single day. They're being killed, they're being arrested, they're being tortured, their homes are being destroyed, their lands are being taken, their water is being denied to them, their kids are being tortured and killed. Every single day under his watch, Palestinians are being irritated in all of these issues at the same time. The refugees, the prisoners, Jerusalem, Ramadan, Al-Aqsa. What do you think is going to happen? What can anybody expect to happen? Especially when the man holding the keys to all of this is the madman, the lunatic, the racist thug, Itamar Ben-Gvir. The future couldn't be more dangerous. People need to stand up. People need to organize. Make sure that your elected officials or unelected officials understand that it's time to act. Challenge people like Peterson, who interview Netanyahu and don't challenge him. People like Joel Osteen, people like Bill Maher. Shame on them for giving this platform to a criminal, a war criminal, a vicious liar. Get informed, get other people informed, get other people angry, get other people ready to act. This cannot continue. We cannot pretend like nothing is going on.
Without distinction of any kind. As I said yesterday in my opening remarks, to discuss, and I am grateful to everyone in this room, committee members, civil society, and members of my delegation for your participation. In closing,
this was an unprovoked attack. They would make you feel that it was unprovoked.
Babies
their heads cut off.
They're gonna circulate misinformation so that the whole world believes it.
Pictures of terrorists beheading children.
This morning, CNN reported that Israel cannot confirm the specific claim that babies were beheaded.
She claims Israeli children kidnapped and kept in cages. We found the original video was in fact published a few days before the Hamas attack.
They're gonna play the victim in any way possible. They're gonna stand with the oppressor, ironically using pictures from the oppressed. They're gonna reduce your reach every time you post about it. But the truth will always be clear for those who are willing to find it.
Living out it's in an open-air prison.
You are stealing my house. If I don't steal it, someone else can steal it. No electricity, no food,
and mine,
no fuel, no water.